Today I want to talk about 5 stars recruiting and the Super Bowl and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time today. I want to talk about recruiting, 5 stars, and the Super Bowl because today we're going to see the Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and the whole bit. But this is also a time of year for which we start to take a look at who was the underdog that ended up in the Super Bowl and which one of those players is a star. And we have this really interesting discussion about recruiting. Now, I am also partial to the underdog story. I love it. I love knowing about George Kittle coming out of Norman to Iowa to become one of the better tight ends in all of college football. I love the story of Travis Kelce. Ended up at Cincinnati as a 2-star recruit and becoming what I think is the most dominant tight end in the game today, right? And on it goes, right? Patrick Mahomes was not a quote-unquote highly regarded player coming out of high school, even though he won Max Prep's National Athlete of the Year because the man was amazing at not just football, but baseball and basketball as well. And then new Illinois coach Bret Bielema decided he was going to try to use this as a recruiting tool. And I want to give him full credit for trying to use this, but now we got to talk about it. So his tweet is, to start, it's amazing how you never hear this on National Signing Day. Important to remember, long-term development and teaching went out in the end with talent as a baseline. And then he has this note, screen cap. Interesting note. The Super Bowl has one player that has an ESPN 5-star high school recruit, Leonard Fournette. Kansas City Chiefs have 12 4-stars. Tampa Bay has 8. Kansas City Chiefs have 10 3-stars. Tampa Bay has 12. KC has 19 below 3-star, and Tampa Bay has 22. That's 63 players rated 3-star or worse in the Super Bowl. Now we get to the part where math, right? Bud Elliott does this every year, and kudos to him for thinking about it and walking it out. But he does the math on how this works. Are you more likely to get to the Super Bowl as a 5-star or, say, an unrecruited player, right? To which we make this point. 4,500 players about there sign national letters of intent every year, right? Making up 11,000 plus college football players. The top 2% play in the NFL, which is an achievement unto itself. And then if we take a look at the numbers, right? We're throwing out everything really except Tom Brady, or I should say we're throwing out Tom Brady and including everything else because Tom Brady predates recruiting rankings, which go back to 1999. But suffice to say, probably a blue chip recruit, 4-star, 5-star player coming out of the state of California where high school football was very good and gave rise to some really outstanding talent, right? I put him in the same category as an Ian Book, right? A dude that ends up being pretty doggone good in college and might be decent to good in the NFL. And of course, Tom Brady is the GOAT. But the numbers just don't bear out that being a 2-star, 3-star, or unrecruited athlete in the NFL gives you a better opportunity to get to the Super Bowl. And I know that sounds like not a take, but it turns out to be because so many people want to believe that they know a 2-star or 3-star. Everybody believes that their kid is Ed Reed, who was a 2-star recruit, right? Who is a Pro Football Hall of Famer. But that's just not how this thing works out. So if there are 4,500 players that sign letters of intent, get scholarships, grant aid, NLI each year, it also needs to be taken into account that 32 of those, sometimes 33, but mostly 32, are 5-stars, right? Why are they 5-stars? Because the recruiting networks, 247, Rivals, and ESPN, are all about trying to predict which players in this class are likely to be selected in the first round 3 years later, right? That is what a 5-star means. It means play for 3 years, and then you are going in the first round. After that, we'll see, right? A lot of folks point to Leonard Fournette as what was thought of as a bust until recently. It might still be thought of as a bust, even if he wins a Super Bowl, because of how much hype he had going into college. This was a man at 225 pounds who ran a 10.6 800-meter dash, among other things. Like Leonard Fournette was that dude at LSU and prior to going to LSU. But since there are only 32 5-stars, among 4,500 players. Doesn't that mean your odds are better if you're a 5-star getting to the Super Bowl? And it turns out they kind of are. 1 in 8 players, 1 in 8 5-star players make it to the Super Bowl, right? Admittedly, small sample size because we've only been tracking recruiting rankings for about 20 plus years, right? About 22 years. But 1 in 8 have made it to the Super Bowl. 1 in 22 4-stars, that's 4.5%, make it to the Super Bowl. And 1 in 114 3-stars, that's 0.9%, less than 1%, make it to the Super Bowl. So 1 in 8, 12.5%. 1 in 22, 4.5%, and then 3-star, 1 in 14. And then for the 2-star and unrated recruit, 1 in 22. That is 0.45% of the time, right? And the more that we walk that out, the more that tends to be true. We look around at some of the best players in the NFL, and it's a hodgepodge, or so it seems. But if you are really paying attention to who the blue chip recruits were coming out of high school, it becomes clearer and clearer who the best players in the NFL are. Now, it does not mean that you cannot outperform what we thought of as your rating, right? For various reasons. Remember Josh Allen at Kentucky. That dude was his 2-star recruit because he moved around a bunch, right? Nobody actually saw him at camps. Nobody got a chance to evaluate him. Isaiah Simmons is another one of these guys. 3-star coming out of Kansas because he didn't really go to camps. He was 6'4", 230 and could run like a deer, but nobody saw him. And that's usually how those guys fly under the radar. But we know who the players are, right? We know who the guys are supposed to be good. Now, for every Josh Allen, who is the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, there is also a Matt Barkley, right? There is a Jimmy Clausen. Taking a look at who the 5-star players are and what they do is what we're always going to say that person didn't live up to our expectations because they didn't become an all-pro or what have you, when really it was just, did they get drafted in the first round? More of those guys get drafted in the first round than don't. That's why we rely so heavily on the recruiting rankings as a predictor of future success. And if we do take into account how many 4 and 5-star players go to a said university, we can also predict how good that team is going to be, because talent is not just a baseline, right, for how much better you can get. Talent is a baseline for how good you are going to be. It is a predictor of success, and I think it is disingenuous for a coach like Bret Bielema to try to walk out that theory, knowing full well that you're starting from scratch. You're at Illinois. Y'all haven't won a national title in who knows how long, if ever, right? I'm just spitballing. Illinois, if you won a national title in the early 20th century, my bad. But you hadn't been really relevant in my lifetime since Juice Williams, and even then, we can have an argument about whether or not that qualifies as relevancy. So don't be fooled. 5 stars matter, stars matter, and the more stars you have, the better football team you're going to be, not just in college, but in the NFL as well. And if you can hit on a Travis Kelce, you can hit on a Patrick Mahomes, good on you. Because, Tyrann Mathieu still over there. He is. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.